calling of the disciples, and one in particular, who? Peter. And we talked about a miraculous catch, right? An unbelievable, miraculous sign. What was God doing through Jesus? What was he saying to Peter and the other disciples? I challenged you to open up your minds. I challenged you to open up your imaginations. I challenged you and invited you, in fact, to ask the Lord to become the Lord of your imagination. Why is that? Did you think about it this week? Did you wonder? Did you reflect? Probably not. Maybe a little bit, I'd like to believe, but I won't ask for hands because I know what life is like. Man, we get out of here and we're all excited and we do lunch and then maybe we rest and then wow, what happens tomorrow morning? Bam, right back to it, right? Oh my goodness, we get flooded. Who had a relaxing week this week? Real question. Wait, you didn't hear me. Who had right? You get it? Life is nuts. Everybody's life is nuts. Let me ask for a show of hands. Real question. I got to move so I can see him. Who in here is retired? Raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 at least. 4 hands up to that question. How many hands went up when I asked who had a relaxing week? What's up? Who's not working for retirement so that you can relax? Oops. Life is crazy. Going, running, busy, in a hurry, right? Who has time to relax? And what do we need? Many of us need rest desperately. We need time to think. We need time to open up our minds. We need time to absorb what God is wanting to tell us. We need to be able to hear from Him. Now, I've been challenging you since I've been with you and inviting you to get into His Word. And you heard that this morning. Casey kept talking about it and Fitz kept talking about it. Get into His Word. Came in and met April this morning. You know how I met April? I walked in and I thought, profile, just the hair. And I'm thinking, I don't think, nope. And wow, the Bible's open. Oh, I got to go get to know her, right? Because she's in the Word. So I'm encouraged that more and more of you are getting in the Word, but I'm wondering, is it getting into us? Is it getting into us? Now, I don't mean that critically. I don't mean that offensively to any of you. What I mean by that is we're so busy and we're running so fast and we're so hurried to get to the next thing and to do it and do it well that I'm wondering how much thinking we're doing. I'm wondering how much reflecting we're doing. I'm wondering how much time we're taking to process what the Word is telling us. And then I'm thinking, oh, bummer. The Creator of the world, the author of life Himself is speaking to us. What a shame if His Word isn't getting into us and giving us the hope that we need, giving us the life that we need, giving us the direction that we seek, giving us the counsel, giving us the comfort, giving us the, started with an E, encouragement that we need. Well, where is it going to come from? I'd give it to you, but I'm in too much of a hurry. The Lord is speaking, and He wants us to hear. But we got to have time. We got to make room. We got to make space in our schedules. Okay, Pastor, I'm hearing you, and I'm in church, and I can give you the right answer, but oh, wow, do you know what you just asked? How am I going to make room in my schedule? I don't have time to rest. How am I going to do that? Because of all the needs, all the things that I've got to address, all the things that I'm already behind in. Have you seen my list? Thank goodness we have retirement to look forward to. Oops. So I'm asking you this morning, what's happening in your imagination? Because I truly believe that one of the concerns for us as people today, not just Christians, one of the things that I think people have in general today is we no longer have time to really think and imagine new possibilities. And that's because we're running so fast, there's just not room. And if there isn't room for thinking and processing and imagining, then how is the one we're praying to going to give us what we're asking for? So I'm encouraging you to make room so that you can imagine. Oh, we need imagination. I mean, we need new possibilities, right? We need new hope. Real question, who of you wants no new possibilities? Just raise your hand. Sounds like a gimmick, doesn't it? Okay, so we're on to gimmicks. Let me give you another one. Who doesn't want new hope? Who doesn't want a word of new inspiration? I'm striking out big time with these questions. So where are we going to get it? Well, we know where to get it, but how are we going to get it? It's not a new problem. Age-old problem, long-time problem. Why is that? Well, because not only are we busy, we get frustrated. Because the hectic pace and the frustration all the time and the endless list that just keeps building up because I get a few things done, but somebody's filled up more things by the time I get back to my list. And so I get more and more frustrated. And the more I get frustrated, added on top of all the busyness that's already there, the less I'm able to even hear what might have gotten through the first time. Right? And on top of that, what happens when we get frustrated and we're tired and there's no room in our schedule and we can't think and we can't process and we can't imagine? Now I start to get irritated. See, frustration may be in me, but irritation is in you, with you, right? Because now you're starting to bug me. Because I'm trying to get my stuff done and you've got needs, right? And you want my time. You remember how much time I had? You remember how much time the retired people had? Yeah, okay. So now you're asking for something that I don't have for myself, and you're expecting to get it from me. And so now I'm starting to notice some things about you that are kind of irritating. Because if those things in you weren't irritating, then you wouldn't be pestering me, or you wouldn't be blocking me, or you would be doing what I need you to do, and you wouldn't be an irritant. And then I could get on with my things, and life would be better. I'm confident of it. I just know it. And not only would life be better if you weren't an irritant, then I wouldn't have to worry about you as much, and I could just focus on what I want to do. My agenda. Not me, brother. But I hear you. One of the things we do without meaning to sometimes, really, but we do it, not to mention those who do it intentionally. We look at people and they move from being an irritant or a minor irritation or an inconvenience to being no closer. I'm done. I'm done with you. I don't like you. There's something about you. This is it. Man, I wish my arm was longer, because that's probably even too close. Tell me we don't do it. You can nod at home. Tell me we don't do it. Now, what happens when this is going on? What happens if you're that person? Well, in Luke chapter 5, right after Jesus said to Peter and to anybody else who was listening, not only are you going to be a fisherman, not only are you going to catch, but you're going to begin to catch people. You're not just going to be catching fish, you're going to be catching people. Now, what do we do in the act of catching? Not that. Right? We don't do that. It's a little hard to catch when I'm pushing the fish away. It's even harder to catch people when we're pushing them away. Now, some translations actually speak that here. They actually say, instead of you'll be fishers of people, you're going to start catching people. Whoa, wait a minute, what? But if you really study and you learn a little deeper what's going on in those words, the way Jesus is using it is to say you're going to catch them as in you're going to catch them alive in order to liberate them from what they were already in. So it is a catching, but it isn't a catching to kill, it's a catching to free. So you're going to be freers of people. Uh-oh. How's that happening? Uh-oh. Yeah. How's it going to happen? If we're so busy that we don't even have time to hear, what's going to happen to those who desperately need to be freed and released? What's going to happen to those who need a breath of fresh air, a word of hope, a word of encouragement? Not that any of you are in that way. We just covered that, right? How are we going to be that? How are we actually going to do what Jesus told Peter and anybody else that was listening in the boat? From now on. And you remember the story. I mean, if you were here last week, you heard me talking about it. But even if you weren't here last week, maybe you remember the story. It's a pretty common story. Jesus had just taught an expert fisherman how to catch a boatload of fish, pun intended. Actually, 2 boatloads of fish. That Jesus who said, put your nets out again. By the way, you only catch fish at night over there, you remember? And he says, put it out in the daytime. And we caught nothing at night, and now you got 2 sinking boats full of fish. This power said, put down your nets, and this is what happened. Now he says, you're going to be catching people. Wouldn't you think that the people who just witnessed that would now be thinking, I have no idea how this is going to happen? But he just did that when I did what he said, and now he's telling me that I'm going to be doing this. I may not get it. I may not have a clue how it's going to happen, but I'm listening. I'm paying attention. My mind is starting to wonder. Substitute, imagine what in the world is going to happen next. And I'm so captivated by him that I leave everything behind. Now, the text doesn't tell us what they left behind. It doesn't say whether they left responsibilities like people. It doesn't say whether they left ailing parents. It doesn't describe the work that they were doing, the results of not doing that work now. It doesn't talk about any of that. It just says they left everything and followed. When was the last time you were that inspired? When was that last time you were so amazed that you didn't stop and look at all that? You just started following. When was the last time you were so gripped by something you saw but couldn't explain? You were so inspired and so liberated and so hopeful that you just said, I'm going. After this story, Luke tells this story. Chapter 5, verse 12. In one of the villages, Jesus met a man with an advanced case of leprosy. When the man saw Jesus, he bowed his face to the ground, begging to be healed. Lord, he said, if you are willing, you can heal me and make me clean. Jesus reached out and touched him. I am willing, he said. Be healed. And instantly, the leprosy disappeared. Some translations say the leprosy left. Then Jesus instructed him not to tell anyone what had happened. He said, go to the priest and let him examine you. Take along the offering required in the law of Moses for those who have been healed of leprosy. This will be a public testimony that you have been cleansed. Leprosy is something we think of today as a specific disease, something where you get white, scaly skinned, blotches, whatever. I mean, it's a dreadful disease, and we don't like it. But in this text, in this context, where Jesus is not, and Luke is not describing that necessarily that specific disease. He's talking about a variety of diseases that were all kind of lumped in together. And so the specific issues of that disease aren't so important. What is important is the effect of having whatever it is he was calling leprosy. See, there was a medical concern, no doubt. But in that context, in this story, it wasn't the medical issue that was the problem. The problem was that the law that governed the way they operated as a people said if you had that leprosy, you couldn't stay here. I don't know where you're going to be, but you're not going to be here. So you're going to be where? And don't come any closer. Have you ever been cast out? If there's ever a person that needs hope, if there's ever somebody that needs inspiration, if there's ever somebody that needs a good word, if there's ever someone that needs encouraging, it's someone who's on the outside, someone who doesn't fit, someone who's not allowed in, no matter how much they want or need. That's where this man is. Do you know anybody that is on the outside looking in? Do you know anybody in your life that is in need of being included, of feeling like they belong somewhere? Is there anybody in your life that you know personally, but maybe not? Maybe it's a group of people. Maybe it's an individual, or maybe it's a class of people. Do you know anybody or any group of people that are really vulnerable because they don't have a voice? They're not on the inside. They don't get access to all that is available inside. Not because they did something, but because something that just they're experiencing, something that is just them. It's not that they're doing it, but because it's them, this is what they got. That's this man. And he looks at one who has done unbelievable miracles, and he knows he can do this. He can change my life forever. But I don't know that he will. So he asks, or he says, if you're willing, you can heal me and make me clean. See, there's the deal. You can heal me. That takes care of the physical part. But you can make me clean. See, that's really the issue here. They're unclean. That's the Old Testament language for you don't belong. You're not allowed in. Oh, you're an irritant. Don't get near me. Good grief. If I even come in contact with you, all the stuff I'm going to have to do. I got to go to the priest. After I've done all this stuff, I've got to go to the priest, and they've got to see and make sure I've done everything that I need to do. All these different things that are prescribed in the book of Leviticus. And then somebody has got to approve of all those things before I am made clean again and allowed in. I'm not even the unclean guy. I just came in contact with him. I wonder if there are people in our lives that are considered, in other words, unclean. They're not allowed in. They're on the outside because they're different. They don't belong. We don't want them in because it will really mess us up if they get in. Jesus heals him. He says, I am willing. Can you imagine for a minute you being that person? Maybe you've been that person. Maybe not quite the same way. But maybe you've not been admitted to a group of friends. Maybe you've not been allowed to be on the team. Maybe you didn't feel welcome in a particular place. Maybe people really misunderstood you. Imagine being made clean. Imagine what it would feel like. Imagine the hope and possibilities that would come flooding into your mind just at that moment. Imagine if you're in a family and there's been a split and now you're being allowed back in. Imagine being on a job site and being ridiculed and now all of a sudden being befriended. Are you tracking with me? Are you listening? We began this journey today at a place of being so busy we couldn't hear and we couldn't listen. And we acknowledge the fact that leads to, if I just skip forward, DVR. We imagine that leads us to a place that we do this to people. Imagine the impact if instead of continuing to do this, we said, hey, come on in. No, really, come on in. I'd love for you to be here. Come on in. You're welcome here. No, you belong here. You fit. Jesus gained a reputation for what he was doing. Jesus gained a reputation by everybody that knew what Jesus was doing. There were no neutral parties. There were no one saying, yeah, I don't know, jury's still out on that one. Everybody had an opinion. Some were amazed and hopeful and encouraged greatly because what he was doing, no one else was doing. He was giving possibilities into your life that no one else could. Some were amazed that he had the audacity to let those people in here. We don't vote for people like that. They're of the other party. They don't look like me. Sit over there. Have you smelled that person? Good grief, it's all I can do from getting sick. Come on. Man, I'm getting long faces. Tell me you haven't been around somebody like that. Uh-oh. Once upon a time in business, I was doing interviews. True story, not a gimmick. I interviewed a man that I smelled before I saw him. And it wasn't just outside the door, it was outside the door and down a little hallway that went down a long hallway. Tell me you haven't been in a place that you said, ugh, I really don't want that person around me. I really don't want those people around me. Man, I'm looking for people like me so I can go huddle up. Because I'm safe here. Nobody's going to mess with me here. Jesus calls us to catch people alive so we can free them. Now he's only talking to pastors. Thanks for sitting in here as I talk to myself today. He's only talking to pastors. Well, that's not true. He's also talking to Sunday school teachers. He's talking to priests. He's talking to even small group leaders, really. Thankfully, he's not talking to everybody else. Oops. This is who we call Lord. This is who we worship. This is who we celebrate and bow down before. This is who we beg and plead with to forgive us for what we know we should not have done or said or even thought. Even when no one else knows, I know and He knows. And I'm begging Him to forgive me. I'm begging Him to let me have a do-over. I'm begging Him to let me in again. I'm begging Him again after having asked Him to help me, forgive me, get past this repeatedly, and I'm back here again. And I'm expecting Him to. Oh, I'm wanting Him to, but I'm really expecting Him because I've been taught if I go to Him and I confess all this stuff and I tell Him I'm going to change, that He will. And He says, follow me. Follow me, Peter, and catch people and liberate them like you're asking me to liberate you. Hey, Reed, let's go, buddy. I'm going to give you an opportunity to bless someone in need of being freed. And I can do it through you. Jesus gained a reputation, and so will we. Which reputation do you want to have? How do you want to be thought of? I'm amazed at what Jesus does. I'm amazed. Come on in. Or, that is unbelievable. How can they do that? How can they think that way? Not here. There's no sitting on the fence. He calls us to follow, just like he called them to follow. And when he freed this man with leprosy, it's a done deal. There's no hiding it. He sent him to make a public testimony before the priest. If we worship, we must follow. If we follow, we're going to have a reputation. Which reputation is going to speak of you?